How to get real estate seller leads. Sellers are the name of the game right now, and a lot of people are struggling to get seller leads. So what I'm going to do is break down from practical experience, break down the 7 different ways our group has consistently generated seller leads. I'm going to break down the nuances that make these strategies work even better than others that are trying these strategies, but may not know the little nuances that really make them shine. So without further ado, let's show you 7 different ways that you can consistently generate seller leads. Hey, what's up guys? Tony Anczer here with eXp Realty. I actively sell real estate in Illinois and Indiana. I'm in the Southwest Chicago area, Northwest Indiana. And our group helps thousands of agents every single year to scale their business the modern way. What I'm going to do is dive into 7 different tactics that I personally used and our eXp group has used to generate seller leads. So without further ado, let's dive into it. And before I do, I just want to say that the last way that I'm going to talk about to get seller leads that I'll describe is a little bit quirky, but it's one that actually generates a lot of seller leads. So stay tuned for that one. All right, number 1, not going to be a big surprise to anyone, is prospecting. Prospecting is where a lot of new agents get listings from as they build their sphere of influence. So when they don't have a lot of people to reach out to that they already know, prospecting, mostly via door knocking and cold calling, are great low-cost ways to get seller leads. The name of the game is you want to spend time in contact with people. Some agents don't like cold calling because it's challenging to build a connection over the phone, and sometimes those phone calls aren't always the most fun, but it's a great fast way to make a lot of contact with a lot of people. With cold calling, you can make more contacts per hour than with door knocking. However, with door knocking, you're able to get in front of people. You know that they can see your energy, you can show up looking well, they can put a face to the name and make a great first impression. And right now, door knocking is working really well because a lot of people stopped after COVID and just hasn't picked that back up, so there's not many out there doing that. But one of the things that work well for us is finding properties that sold X over list price in X amount of days, and like a really hot property, and go door knocking that whole street. You know, so if you're gonna go door knocking, like, what do you say? And so you knock on the door and say something like, hey, you know, my name's Tony Anczer with eXp Realty. I don't know if you noticed, but the property down the street just sold for X amount over list price in X amount of days. The sale broke records in this community, and I just wanted to see if you would like to know how this record-setting price might affect your property value. These record-setting prices mean the adjacent houses, their values go up, and I'd like to offer you a free consultation to show you what your house might be worth now. There's lots of other door knocking scripts that can be found online, but to be honest, they're quite terrible. And I can't imagine just feeling, you know, those salesy lines knocking on doors, and you know, you always want to lead with value. So unfortunately, without saying any names, some of those people that have written these scripts have actually never sold a house before. And just remember, you always want to lead with value with whatever you're doing to build business. Without further ado, let's dive into point number 2. Number 2 is Facebook and Instagram ads, specifically tailored towards sellers. And there's 2 different ways that we approach this. One is simply promoting sold properties that we just sold. So what you can do is, after your property's sold, is run 2 separate ads, about $20, $40 a day for each, for the 2 weeks after the house sold. You know, what some of us will do is we'll have a big banner on front of the image that will say sold, so it really catches people's eyes with a twilight photo of the house. You know, like a really high quality image. It has some stats on there, things like your contact information. But what it usually does better is to take photos of our clients outside the property looking super happy. Some of us have big signs, like I got a big EXP key that will get our buyers or sellers to hold. They like having those photos too, to share with their friends, to post on social media. And you run that ad because people connect with other people better than they connect with properties. They don't really connect with properties and inanimate items. And so that's why you really want to involve pictures of people in your social media. The worst thing you can do is turn your Instagram feed into like a homes and land magazine, because no one's really connect with the houses. They'll connect much more with people. So if you can, run ads of other people that look overjoyed. If you can get testimonies, video testimonies work real well too. Photo testimonials. Again, people will connect with people, so you want to have people in your social media posts. And that really works well because it humanizes it and allows people to connect with the experience that you created from them, and that ultimately they want for themselves too, because facts tell and stories sell. And when people see these photos, that tells the story of the experience that these sellers had. And if you're going to be selling a home, you want to have the feelings of a good experience. And so when the potential sellers see your photos and see they can relate with your sellers, you know, they want to enjoy that experience themselves too. Number three is one that most people can't seemingly wrap their head around, which is video tours on YouTube of properties. And a lot of people make the assumptions that video tours are just going to attract buyers. What you need to understand is, yes, in a blue moon, it's going to attract buyers. Usually out-of-state buyers, relocation buyers, because people are Googling moving to Northwest Indiana. And if your SEO is good, your videos will pop up. But what it does for local sellers is that it's a running case study showing what you do differently than other agents. And personally, that's what my wife's an agent too. That's really how we get our business now. Is we focus on our sphere of influence, which we'll talk about in a minute here. But we're really going all in on video with video tours. And that's, people call us, weekly now saying, hey, we saw your video on YouTube and we like what you do. We'd like to work with you. And that's been great. And it's fun to do. We enjoy making the videos. So basically it's a portfolio of your work. A lot of agents say that they go above and beyond and that they do all this marketing for their properties and for their clients and things like that. But very few can actually prove it and can show it. What that means is a lot of realtors will tell a seller, hey, we do all this marketing stuff, but they won't be able to back it up. And so with ours, and a lot of it in our group, people are seeing the proof first before they even talk to us, because they'll see the listing videos online. Yeah, so if you look at the top agents in our organization of EXP, which we call the Wolf Pack, almost all of us are getting the majority of our seller leads from YouTube video property tours. Just because, again, people are going to see that property tours and say, man, I want that for my home to look like that quality. That's how I want my property to be represented. Because like 86% of sellers now prefer to work with the realtor who uses video. And that is one of the most important criteria when they're vetting agents. So that one works incredibly. It helps a ton of agents in our organization get $1 million listings. And I might say it's very cheap too. Once you learn how to post videos and produce them a little bit, like we do that ourselves in our studio at home. I collect the video myself. My kids help actually edit the videos, and we post them online on YouTube. And there's no cost to that, which is great. All right, number 4 is Google Ads, specifically targeting sellers. Now, there's a couple of nuances here that I think is really important. And again, the one thing that you want to be aware is that when you're targeting sellers and you're going for seller leads are going to be more expensive than buyer leads. It's the nature of the game, because usually it's going to be a quicker return on your investment. When you're working with a seller, there's less time involved, because when you work with a buyer, you have to drive around, look at properties, might find out they're not well qualified, all that good stuff. But on a seller, if they're ready to sell, it's not that much upfront work, and then you have that listing, so you have guaranteed business. So just by the nature of the competition, seller leads are going to be more expensive. So just make sure that when you're going into a seller lead generation advertisement, you prepare yourself for this. But one thing you need to understand is that the more niche you can get, the better. So if you're trying to do seller leads on Google Ads, you want to niche down to specific communities. You want to go for different style of properties that are hot in your market. Like right now, pools in my area. Everybody wants a pool right now because it's hot and humid. So that's a really trending item right now. In the wintertime, you may want to advertise your heated driveway to let the snow melt. So you want to go as niche as possible and narrow as possible, because if you go broad, like for homes for sale in Chicago or homes for sale in St. John, Indiana, you got a lot of the other heavy hitters in your market that are spending thousands of dollars a month. Sometimes some people I know spend $10,000 a month on their online advertisements, and it's going to be impossible to actually compete with them to get a good amount of leads for your return on your investment. Whereas the more niche you go down, the more specific you are, the easier it's going to get a freaking amount of leads and consistency, as well as a low cost per lead. And like, for example, a heavy hitter agent that has a big agent or a local brokerage might have a lot of money behind homes for sale Northwest Indiana, but they're willing to pay $40 a lead. You'd have to bid higher than $40 a lead to get much of the search traffic. But if you niche down to a nearby subdivision, Deer Creek subdivision, maybe nobody's advertising for that, so you're going to get those leads for very cheap because there's no competition for that. All right, number 5, leveraging your sphere. Obviously, but doing it in a more creative way. You obviously want to always go after your sphere. You want to love on your sphere, as I always say it. You want to add value to them. So one of the ways that I wanted to show to my sphere, and I didn't want to be, just calling people up and saying, hey, do you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell? That usually doesn't go too far too quickly, because again, people are kind of sick of that, and you don't want to alienate your sphere. You don't want, when people that you don't talk to very often picking up the phone and be like, oh, Tony's calling. He's something about real estate. You don't want that. You always want to add value. And to me, like, it just doesn't feel natural trying to just pick up business from a sphere. So I always try to lead with value. And so one of the things we do is hold events like a summer barbecue. Those events are really cheap. A lot of those people you probably want to hang out with anyway. You can get hot dogs, hamburgers, barbecue type food, include your sphere's entire family, ask them to bring a friend. And even on the cost, you can get a mortgage broker if you want to split that with you, or sometimes they'll pay for all of it just to get in contact with your sphere too. So inviting people is something where everyone's having a good time. People's guards are down. By us, there's a local high school in the wintertime that you can rent out their pool for like $300 or something, and that draws families with kids. You can think of unique ways of doing that. And then you invite them to say, hey, we just want to do this as a neighborhood thing to give back to the community. Please invite your friends and family. The more, the merrier. And all of a sudden, if everybody brings somebody, you doubled your sphere of influence in a day, and you brought them value. So if you talk to 100% of the top producing agents, they'll all swear and live by their sphere. And for agents not doing well, you'll commonly find that they're not leveraging their sphere well by adding value to their sphere. And that's the definition. You want to hone in on that adding value is you always want to add value to your sphere, and that's how you want to love on them. For example, like we like to send birthday cards out to our sphere. You can call them up on their birthday too, or send text messages. There's other agents in the area that will do things like they'll around Thanksgiving, they'll do pop-ins and drop off different pies to people they know in the area. Just a way to stay in contact and add value. You're not asking for anything, you're just adding value. A friend of mine, was a local realtor, she dropped off like flowers or something like that during spring. And just from it sitting on their table, a neighbor came over and saw that, and she ended up getting the neighbor's listing just because they had a flower on their table with the agent's contact information on it. So fun ways like that. And for me, it's nice. I like that because you just want to give stuff to people. You want to add value to them, and so that's a great way too. So you can do local events, like we talked about barbecue movie day. You can do for during Christmas, photos of Santa, with Santa, I guess. Whatever you can do, but leveraging your sphere by leading with value is a great way to get more sellers. All right, number 6 is establishing very crucial partnerships with other industry professionals. When I talk about this, I mean, there's a lot of people who have a connection with a mortgage broker, a lender, a lawyer, title company, financial planners, things like that, insurance brokers, life planners. But one of the things you realize is a lot of these partnerships are very surface level. They're kind of mediocre relationships. You run into them and like 2 months from now, they'll say something like, oh, darn, Tony, I was just talking with my friend Bob. They're going to sell a house. It totally slipped my mind that you're a realtor. And that will happen all the time. But when getting into real estate before you're established, what you're looking to do is you want to find partnerships that people will sing your name from the mountaintops, so to speak, where you want to say, hey, mortgage broker, attorney, hey, I want to establish a business relationship with you that we solely refer each other out. Target these relationships again with financial planners, wealth managers, insurance brokers, mortgage brokers, lawyers. Make it very clear that you're only going to do this if it's one-to-one. Like hey, you get a partnership and like, hey, if we're really going to do this, it's just going to be one-to-one. You're not going to refer anybody else. I'm not going to refer anybody else. And again, if that was easy to find, everybody would be doing this. One of our agents, Mike, had a relationship with a financial planner who manages people's wealth. And this financial planner would call Mike and say, hey, Mike, I'm in a meeting right now. My clients are right beside me, and they needed to diversify their assets. They're looking to buy investment properties. I'm going to introduce you to them right now, but I just wanted to put a name in your ear so that you guys can make contact real quick, and I'll send you an introduction email later. So then they'd hang up and that'd be it. So this financial planner would literally call Mike while his clients are sitting there. Anytime that his clients mentioned investing, buying, or selling in real estate, and they'd call Mike right away and just make the connection. And that generated a lot of seller leads for Mike. So looking and auditing your strategic partnerships you have is very important. All right, the last one, the exciting one, number 7. And that's the one that's a little bit unique, is doing events for real estate investors. So one of the ways that our group has gotten a ton of sellers to work with a lot of flippers who bought and sold. This would work by setting up a monthly meetup that was free, I bring coffee and snacks and do a 1 hour presentation at a local co-working space, free to the attendees. Talk about how to flip properties in your market. Talk about the investment opportunities. Present before and after photos, before and after analysis in terms of what the homes were purchased for, how much they sold for, how much money went into it, what were the margins, things like that. And our group has picked up a ton of flipper clients. And with the flipper clients, they buy houses, fix them up, and then sell them. So they need representation to buy a house. They need representation to sell a home. And so you just get repeat business as they churn through the properties. And then at that point, there's an agent I know that once he knows what his clients are looking for, he would just go out and solicit those homes for them because he knew what they would want to buy. And so that was a great relationship for them. And the flippers really appreciate that because if you can bring them deals that make sense, they want to spend their time working on deals. They don't want to be always out kicking tires and whatnot. So if you can hone in on what the investors are looking for, then you can save them a lot of time and they'll find a lot of value to that. And a lot of times that comes out in fees too. In addition to commission fees, they might find finder's fee for those too. And that's things you can work out. So again, those are repeat buyers. So those are 7 ways to consistently generate seller leads. If you have a way that works really well for you, drop a comment below because I'd love to know what works best for you. Thanks so much for tuning in as always. Please make sure to like and subscribe to this video. If you leave a comment, we'd appreciate that. It really helps the channel. And we'll see you in the next video.